Damien from Marketing Food Online. So I have a great list of questions I'm going to dive into thanks to you guys, my subscribers. So let's get right to those questions right now. So it's Damien from Marketing Food Online. And as I mentioned in the introduction, this video is going to be another great one filled with all of your questions. I'm actually going to get to a handful. I've got probably about 7 or 8 questions tonight that I want to dive into. And really quick, as always, if you are not a subscriber to Marketing Food Online, this is the first video. I am a food entrepreneur. I started Marketing Food Online 3 or 4 years ago and basically created a great resource YouTube channel that brings all kinds of fantastic information about food businesses, food trucks, and everything in between. So if you're looking to get a food product made, if you want to get it online, if you want to get it in retail stores or anything in between, we've got all that great information. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. So let's jump right into the questions. Now, the first one I've got is actually from a cottage food operator. It sounds like he's actually trying to operate from his apartment, I believe it is. So the question was, can I produce a food product from a kitchen in an apartment in Tennessee, not Texas, in Tennessee? Now, that is a great question, and believe it or not, I get a lot of subscribers who ask about using their apartment because they may not necessarily live in a home, nor do they have access directly to a commercial kitchen or something of that sort. So can you do it from your apartment? Well, yes and no. Okay, so here's what you need to do. Number one, you need to find out from your landlord or those that own the actual building that you're renting from in your apartment if it is okay with them. They have to kind of pretty much sign off on having you do that. They have to approve it and then be okay with it. You have to check also with your city or the county you live in to see if you fall in line with the ordinances and regulations they have set up. Now, understand the difference. The state can create cottage food laws, which encompass the state. Now, when it gets to the county and the city level, though, they can create their own rules and regulations and allow so much or only certain things, and they can also be in certain zoning areas where they're not zoned for commercial food production, or if it's considered a residential zoning area, it's not allowed at all. So you really want to double check with the city and county that you're in, see what they have on the books, and see what they allow you to do. There are some cities, I've actually talked to some of my subscribers, cities and counties that allow it, and they're perfectly fine with food production, but you still would fall under the cottage food law within your state. And of course, every state is a little different. So double check with your landlord, your city, and the county and find out exactly what you can and can't do. And then that way you can move forward legally and safe to go ahead and produce your food product. So can I answer the question specifically about Tennessee? No, only because that is a city and county question that you need to double check, as well as a landlord issue. So follow up with them. Okay? So hopefully that'll give you some great direction to get started in. All right, so the next one I got up is actually a question. It's about farmers markets. So this is from Matt. He says, please make a video talking about profits for farmers markets. So he actually watched a video that I did on farmers markets and creating a local business in a farmers market. I'm just double checking my notes here. So he was asking in regards to how to create a profit when you sell at a farmer's market. Great question, and yes, I can give you some direction as to how to do that. Okay, so number one, the factors of creating your food product. What are they? Okay, so your ingredients, your time, your packaging, your labels, every little bit that goes into making your food product is a cost. That is a cost of your product. So I'm going to use some examples really quick. Let's say I was making some roasted nuts, okay, and I put them in a bag, not a really expensive container, something fancy, just a simple bag. Got a label on the front and a label on the back, and let's say that bag cost me $2 to make. Okay, now, where am I going to sell it? Farmers markets. Okay, so now I need to go on the weekend and I need to secure a booth, a little section in the farmers market in my local area. Okay, so now how do you figure out your cost for that? Because that costs money too. Number one, you may have a cost to actually just get into the farmers market. Some farmers markets cost a certain amount of money just to have a booth. Some of them are free, and then they just simply take a percentage of your sales, okay? So the farmers market that you're actually going to go to, before you go there and do business there, you need to find out as much about it as possible, mainly as regards to the costs. Now, if you start on a Friday and you end on a Sunday, so let's say for 3 days, you're going to rent that section at the farmer's market. How much is that costing you? Are they charging by the day? Are they charging just a percentage? Some of them even charge you an entry fee. They'll charge you a fee to get in, start your booth, and then they'll charge you on top of that a percentage. So, how do you create a profit? Well, you need to do a little research before you jump into any farmer's market. You need to find out when is the busiest time. Does anyone else offer the same type of food product that you're going to bring to the farmer's market? Why is that important? Because if you have multiple booths selling the same thing, your competition is going to kind of eat up any potential profit that you may have. And normally, farmers markets won't allow vendors to come in and duplicate the same product. So they're only going to allow one vendor who sells nuts. So you might want to figure out some other type of food product. If you really want to be a part of that specific farmers market, they're not going to let you duplicate and sell and have two booths that sell seasoned nuts. That doesn't make sense. So find out your cost, how much it rents, how much are they going to take off the top. You want to find out more also about when is the busiest time of the weekend or season for that specific farmer's market. And that's when you want to be there. You don't want to be there, obviously, when it's an off season. You don't want to be there when it's slow. And yes, you can find out a lot of this information from the person that's putting on the farmer's market. You find out that the owner or the manager or whoever's in charge of it, go to them and ask them these questions. Hey, when is your busiest time? How much is it running? How much does it cost? Do you charge just a flat fee? Also, on top of it, many times what they'll do is during super busy seasons, they're going to charge more for you to be there. So for you, you need to find out how many actual units of your food product do you have to sell for you to make a profit, okay? Understand how much is going into each individual bag of your, let's say, your seasoned nuts, right? So you want to find out how many of those bags do I have to sell on top of my fees for me to really make any money. And that's going to be the goal for your farmer's market for the weekend, however many days you're going to be there. So now, are you going to be able to make a profit for sure? Well, no, nobody has a crystal ball. They're not going to tell you, yeah, you know what, you're going to walk out here with 10 grand this weekend or 5 grand. That you have to just go out there and you got to hustle and hustle and hustle and sell your product. There's no guarantees, obviously, for any of this. But if you understand it and you ask the questions and you can kind of get a good idea of how many units you need to sell, that's going to be a more smarter way to run your business locally and to be in a farmer's market. So try that out and let me know if you have any other questions about that. Okay, so next one up is actually a great question about just business in general. So hoping that you can have more updates on what all we must keep in mind once we start our business and it's up and running. So this was a question in regards to what you can expect by starting and running your food business. Now, there's a lot of variables. My business is, as you can tell, I'm here in the shipping department, as I mostly do here in my office. We have a business that's online, so the internet allows us to be open 24. Okay? So our business is mainly online by pretty much 100% now. We used to be in retail stores, but it became more profitable for us to be directly online and sell to our customers and, of course, sell in bulk and a handful of other avenues that we do now. So when you first start your food business, definitely keep in mind a few of these tips. Number one, you want to make sure you incorporate yourself as a business. And I'm sure you're probably thinking, well, Damien, that's kind of silly. That's what I was going to do anyways. A lot of people who start food businesses from home, they don't realize the importance of the legalities and the responsibilities from separating your actual business from yourself or doing it as a hobby. You need to incorporate yourself, get yourself food business insurance, figure out what type of food product you actually want to make or sell. Now, when I say that, try to find a product that you either enjoy making and you know how to make it very quickly. Why is that important? Because the faster you can produce a product, the better off you are as far as selling in bulk or selling a lot of it at once, because you can fill larger orders or even sell it in larger quantities if you have a product that's easy and quick to make. When we first started, there were some cookies that we actually were selling in our bakery that took forever to make. Now, I started out, and I didn't really know that at the time, but then I realized the quicker the product is that we can make, the quicker I can make a profit and sell it. So I did away with certain cookies or certain products because other ones I can make more money at and make it faster. So try to optimize and keep your product, the production of your product, very minimal amount of time in it. Don't take all day to make a product, and you're only going to make a little bit of money doing it. You want to make stuff quick. Have a recipe that can be produced and scaled Also, because you're going to get to the point where you may be in a commercial kitchen, a co-packer or a private label company may be making it for you. So don't invest yourself in a product that's going to take forever to make, because you're not going to make a margin. Now, with that being said, some of the things that you should keep in mind when you are looking at annual registration renewals for licensing permits, insurance, that type of stuff, a lot of those are done annually. Be sure to budget throughout the year. Put the money aside for those specific licenses. And this was actually a really quick tip that I haven't actually talked about ever on a video. But one of the things that I didn't really realize was that a lot of these licenses and permits that I had that have to be done annually, I should put some money away little by little. So at the end of the year, when it comes down to renewing them, the money is there. Always set aside, figure out however many it may be. Maybe it's your insurance policy, maybe it's your permits, maybe it's your license. All of those different things, calculate how much they are, and then each month put some money aside for those license and permits. Because it's one really costly lesson that I had is that the second or third year into our business, I had not put that money aside annually, and those re-registrations were due. And when they were, I didn't have the ability to get them exactly at the moment when they were due. So I ended up getting late fees, and you can get fined, and you get all kinds of other stuff. So now it costs you even more money. These are little tiny things that you can do to make your business run smoothly. So make sure you put all of the money away throughout the year for all of the registrations and the permits and all the annual renewals, okay? Now, the other thing you want to think of when your business starts running and you are up and running. Now, if you're online, of course, you're in a retail store, a lot of this is different. The different factors of running a business are totally different. The business model, totally different. So from my own experience, I have run retail bakery. I had an Italian bakery. I had the gelato. We had panini sandwiches. We had a bakery. So when we had that, some of the things to keep in mind. Stay on top of your ingredients. Stay on top of your packaging. Stay on top of your labeling. Anything that you foresee yourself having to constantly reorder, set up a specific schedule as to when you reorder those products so you're never out. There was more than one occasion when I was running my retail location and I had not understood that yet. So reordering ingredients and packaging and cake boxes and cupcakes and gelato spoons. The panini press had certain types of equipment to keep it running and maintain it. Our sandwich table for our sandwiches. All of this stuff was a big thing, a big task to order. So create yourself some type of a spreadsheet with all of the things you need to order on a regular basis. If you're creating a food business and a food product, you're going to have ingredients, packaging, labeling. Make sure that you order them constantly, consistently, and stay on top of that. That's something that you can never lag about. You can't be behind on because it will catch up. When you're trying to produce a food product and you don't have a label, and this has happened to us, we're out of a label, we're out of a bag, we're out of ingredient, it will delay you making money, and you don't want to do that, okay? Also, it just irritates your customers. So stay on top of everything that you need to have ordered. Packaging, boxes, like back here, you can see all the packaging tape, all the boxes we use, constantly ordering. So we have ourselves now on a schedule when we order these things so we're never out. So, all right, so let's take a couple more questions. Can I do so? Okay, so I had a great question. I did a really cool video about Facebook ads and promoting your Etsy shop. We actually have an Etsy shop as well. We've been on Etsy for quite a long time. So if you're looking to promote your product on a Facebook ad, I did a video about that. Then I had a question. So can I do this through my Etsy page without sharing it with my Facebook friends? Yes. Yes. What you can do, and I recommend, is you create a page dedicated to your Etsy shop or your eBay store or even your Amazon store. If you have a food product, let's say you're doing chocolate pretzels and you sell them on eBay, create a page on eBay dedicated to your store. Has nothing to do with your personal profile. Do not promote products, I recommend. Don't do any of that business stuff through your personal. Keep it separate. Just create a separate page dedicated to it. That way, you don't have to necessarily, like this says, you don't have to involve your friends or anybody who is part of a personal page. You want to create a business page. Then you can begin to promote and boost and advertise that listing, that URL listing that you've got on your Facebook page and get people to come over and buy products from you. Okay? So yes, separate the two. You don't want to be a part of the same thing. If you happen to want to include some of your friends, go ahead and do it. But you want to keep your business stuff separate because that's going to allow you to create content that is for your business. It has nothing, has nothing to do with your personal page at all. So yes, separate the two, and you don't need to incorporate your friends or anything personal when you run the ad. Okay. A couple more questions, and these are actually great ones about home-based food businesses. So I had a question, can you use DoorDash? Okay. There's been a lot of questions that I've received from subscribers over the period of time. Every time I do a cottage food video about a certain state, I get a question about, can I use a delivery service? Yes and no. And again, I always like to answer questions that way because there's a lot of variables. You can transact online in a lot of states. If you have a cottage food business, you're making stuff from home, you can open a website and you can sell stuff. But that's not in every state. And number two, the actual transaction has to take place between you, the seller, and the buyer. So if a customer buys something, you have to deliver it. You have to come together and transact it that way. You can't have a separate, like you can't sell a product to a retail store and then they sell it to a customer. Some states, very few actually, allow you to do that, but most of them, they don't. So having the ability to use a delivery service, if you are delivering it, you should be fine, because I have not seen anything in a specific cottage food law or rule stating that you cannot use one of these apps. It's just not there because they want you to transact it in person. So if you happen to be delivering it to the customer, that's going to be okay. Now, with that being said, you want to find out specifically about your state cottage food regulations and see for sure about how you can transact online or if you can transact over an app. Most of them, again, have never stated anything about apps. That's relatively new, and I'm sure cottage food laws will eventually get to that point where they'll address that. But as of right now, nobody says that you can't use a delivery app for your food business. So, okay? So I'm going to wrap it up really quick. That's a pretty good long video, about 17 minutes. And as always,